Welcome, developers, system architects, technical founders, and visionaries. If you've spent any meaningful amount of time in the trenches of software development, you are already intimately familiar with a traditional bottleneck, the silent killer of project velocity. Picture this. You have a brilliant market-ready idea. You've spent countless hours agonizing over the user experience. Your front-end UI is looking absolutely pixel perfect. The user journey flows like a dream, and you are ready to bring your vision to life. And then you hit the wall. The immovable, complex, and time-consuming wall known as the backend. Historically, bridging that gap and setting up a robust, scalable backend meant sacrificing days, or even weeks, to grueling manual labor. It wasn't just writing code. It was wrestling with infrastructure. You had to provision and spin up databases, meticulously design and normalize complex relational schemas, and write endless lines of repetitive boilerplate just to get basic CRUD operations functioning. Then came the dense security layers. You were forced to implement bulletproof authentication from scratch, carefully configure JSON web tokens, establish intricate row-level security policies to keep user data strictly isolated, and finally, manually type out endless pages of Swagger documentation just so your beautifully crafted front-end could actually talk to your newly minted data layer. It was a deeply tedious process. It was highly prone to subtle, hard-to-track human errors, and frankly, it was a massive, soul-crushing drain on your creative momentum and project runway. But what if that friction didn't have to exist? Today, I'm going to show you a genuine paradigm shift. I'm going to demonstrate how to completely bypass that archaic bottleneck and accelerate your development lifecycle like never before. Welcome to this comprehensive, deep dive masterclass on NoCodeBackend. In this video, which will run for about 30 minutes, we aren't just going to scratch the surface with high-level promises. We will explore exactly what this powerful engine does under the hood, step by step. We'll look at the intelligent architecture, the seamless front-end integrations, and the automated workflows that instantly generate the infrastructure you used to dread. Grab your coffee, open up your workspace, and let's dive right in. First, let's establish exactly who NoCodeBackend is meticulously built for, because understanding its core audience will help you see its true value. If you are a front-end developer, someone who thrives on crafting beautiful, responsive user interfaces and seamless client-side experiences, but you want to step into the realm of full-stack development without spending months learning the complex intricacies of PostgreSQL, scaling Node.js environments, or architecting express routing from scratch, then this platform was designed entirely with you in mind. It empowers you to own the entire stack without the steep learning curve. But perhaps most importantly, we are looking at the modern AI-driven workflow. If you are a forward-thinking developer leveraging the power of AI coding assistants to generate complex applications directly from natural language prompts, NoCodeBackend is the critical, missing puzzle piece you've been searching for to complete your development ecosystem. Let's talk about those AI tools for a moment. Powerful assistants like Cursor and models like Claude are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to generating sleek React components, styling Tailwind interfaces, and writing client-side logic. In the front end, they feel like magic. But the illusion often breaks when it comes to the back end. Typically, they end up generating overly complex, highly fragmented local server code that requires heavy configuration, constant debugging, and is an absolute nightmare to reliably deploy to a production environment. It stalls your progress and kills your momentum. NoCodeBackend elegantly bridges this frustrating gap by acting directly as a Model Context Protocol, or MCP, server. Instead of wrestling with fragile boilerplate code, it seamlessly intercepts your natural language app ideas and structural requirements, translating them instantly into a living, breathing, and fundamentally secure cloud database architecture that is ready for production on day one. All right, enough theory, let's get hands-on and look at the actual platform. What you're looking at right now is the central command center for your entire backend infrastructure. This is the no-code backend dashboard. Notice how as soon as you log in, you are greeted by an incredibly clean, minimalist, and distraction-free interface. We are currently sitting in the My Databases tab. Right now, it's a blank canvas, reading no database is found. But don't let that fool you. This empty space is exactly where the heavy lifting is going to happen in just a few moments. Let's take a quick tour of the layout so you know exactly where everything is. Over on the left-hand sidebar, the navigation is straightforward and perfectly organized. You have your main dashboard overview, the specific My Databases section we are in right now, a dedicated help center for when you need a little guidance, and a clear view of your plans and limits. Just below that, you'll see a drop-down for developer settings. This is a crucial area we'll explore a bit later when we need to grab our API keys to connect our frontend. You might also notice a quick call-out box at the bottom left for the AppSumo community. If you manage to snag a lifetime deal there, you already know the immense value this platform brings to your workflow. Now draw your attention up to the top navigation bar. One of the best things about this UI is that complete resource transparency is baked right in. Right at the top, you can instantly see your current plan. In this case, we are operating on the free tier, along with a real-time counter showing your total databases created and the number of AI calls you've made. This is fantastic because it ensures you always know your exact usage and never blindly hit a limit mid-project. Over on the far right of the top bar, you have a few essential quality of life toggles, quick access to switch on dark mode, because let's be honest, we all prefer coding in dark mode, a direct link to additional video tutorials, and your account profile settings. Finally, looking back at the main workspace, it's equipped with a search bar, sorting filters, and a manual refresh button. As your portfolio of projects scales, finding the exact database you need takes mere seconds. This beautifully simple, intuitive UI completely masks the immense, complex power running under the hood. There are no intimidating terminal windows or complicated server configurations to stare at here. It's just you, your ideas, and a streamlined path to your data. Let's change this empty state and spin up our very first backend. All right, the moment of truth. Let's initiate our backend and bring this architecture to life. When you trigger the creation process, you are greeted by this incredibly streamlined Create Quick Database modal. Take a moment to appreciate the design here. Notice what is missing. It doesn't overwhelm you with complex database connection strings, opaque server region selections, or dense infrastructure jargon. It strips away the noise and gets straight to the point. Before we fill this out, let's take a step back and talk about what a backend actually is and why this interface is such a massive leap forward. In software development, your front end is the face of your app, the buttons, the layout, the colors. But the backend is the brain. It is the central nervous system. It handles data persistence, it dictates business logic, it secures sensitive user information, and it determines how fast your application can scale when thousands of people log in at once. Traditionally, building a backend meant choosing a server framework like Node.js or Django, setting up an object relational mapper like Prisma, writing complex database migration files, and spending days configuring REST or GraphQL endpoints just to get basic data flowing. NoCodeBackend completely flips that script. It takes all of that underlying complexity, the servers, the routing, the database provisioning, and abstracts it away behind this elegant user interface. First, we need to establish our foundation by giving our database a name. Let's type in something recognizable and scalable for our project. I'll name it Project Management Sys. Right below that naming field is, in my professional opinion, one of the most powerful features on the entire platform, the Enable Native User Auth checkbox. If you've ever tried to build secure session management from scratch, you know the absolute nightmare it can be. We're talking about securely hashing passwords, configuring JSON web tokens, managing cookie sessions, implementing OAuth providers, and establishing bulletproof row-level security. It can take a seasoned engineer weeks of rigorous testing to get right, and even then, a single oversight can leave your entire system vulnerable to data breaches. With NoCodeBackend, checking this single, unassuming box handles all of that heavy lifting permanently. It's essentially like hiring a senior security engineer to lock down your app with one click. Moving down the modal, we reach the schema section. This is the heart of the operation. This is where we define the actual architecture and relational structure of our data. A proper database isn't just a flat spreadsheet. It is a highly interconnected web of entities. Traditionally, this is where you would be writing complex SQL create table statements, worrying about primary keys, foreign keys, and cascading deletes. Instead, we have this clean, intuitive interface waiting for us. Right now, it simply says no tables yet. So let's change that. Let's click Add Table and start structuring our SaaS application. For this project, we are going to define our core entities. Let's start by setting up a table for labels to categorize our tasks. Then we will add a table for our projects, a table for our tasks, and a table for the teams that will manage everything. As you can see, the interface allows you to rapidly click through and define your columns without touching a command line. Need a title? Add a standard text field. Need a status? Set up an enumerator. Need to track when a task was created? Drop in a timestamp. And most importantly, when you need to link a task to a specific project, you establish that relational link right here, visually, with absolute precision. You are visually architecting a highly structured relational database. It is schema design at the speed of thought. What used to take hours of planning and syntax debugging now takes mere minutes. Once your tables and columns are defined to your liking, and you've double-checked your relational links, all it is left to do is finalize the build. I'll navigate down and hit the Create Database button at the bottom right. Now, when I click this, NoCodeBackend isn't just saving a draft or drawing a nice visual diagram. It is actively executing an incredible amount of engineering work. Behind the scenes, it is instantly spinning up a secure, cloud-hosted database instance. It is running the migrations to apply our exact schema architecture. It is auto-generating secure RESTful API endpoints for every single table we just built, and it is configuring the global routing protocol so your front-end can communicate with it instantly with zero latency. You just built a production-ready backend in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. Let's watch the magic happen. And just like that, the heavy lifting is complete. Our custom-designed backend is live, fully deployed to highly available cloud infrastructure, and ready to receive traffic. We are immediately brought to this deployment success screen, which serves as the command center for our new environment. Let's break down what we are looking at here, because there are two vital pieces of information you need to understand before moving forward. First is your instance ID, prominently displayed right at the top of the screen. Think of this as the unique physical address for your live database in the cloud. It is the specific identifier that distinguishes your Task Tracker SaaS instance from every other deployment on the platform. But an address isn't enough. You need a key to get through the door. We need a way to securely access this data from the outside world, whether that's from a React application running on a user's browser or from your AI coding assistant during development. Now, for obvious enterprise-level security reasons, NoCodeBackend doesn't simply display your master password on the screen or store it in plain text. You have to actively generate it. So I'm going to go ahead and click this black Generate Secret Key button right here in the center. And there it is. Now, I want to pause here because I cannot stress enough how critical this newly generated cryptographic string is. This string is the master key to your kingdom. This is the definitive credential that you will use to securely authenticate your front-end application. Or if you are vibe coding, this is what you will provide to an MCP-enabled AI assistant like Cursor, Windsurf, or Claude Code, so they have the explicit authorization to read, write, and modify data on this specific backend. Because NoCodeBackend adheres strictly to zero trust security principles, this key will only be shown to you in its entirety right now. You must copy this and store it securely. Treat it like a production password. Do not hard-code it into your front-end repository. Store it safely in your local environment variables, typically in your .env file as ncb_token or something similar. I'll go ahead and copy mine to my clipboard right now. Now that we have our security credentials safely stored away, let's go see what NoCodeBackend actually built for us during that brief loading screen. I'm going to click Open your API documentation. Welcome to what I consider to be the holy grail for front-end developers. What you're looking at right here is a fully interactive, auto-generated Swagger Open API interface. Let me explain the magnitude of what has happened here. While our database was spinning up just a moment ago, the platform didn't just create empty tables. It simultaneously wrote, configured, documented, and deployed a complete, highly optimized REST API tailored exactly to that task schema we visually designed in the previous step. It mapped every column, every data type, and every relationship into secure web routes. Let's slowly scroll through the endpoints listed here. For our single tasks table, the platform has automatically generated an entire suite of standard production-ready routes. Look at this. You have a green post route explicitly structured to create new tasks, complete with payload validation based on our schema. You have blue GT routes to read all records with built-in pagination, or to fetch a specific task by passing its unique ID. You even have a dedicated, optimized search endpoint and orange put and patch routes for updating statuses when a user moves a task to done. There is absolutely zero manual backend coding required to produce this. No express servers to configure, no route handlers to write, no middleware to debug. It is all just here, perfectly documented and ready to consume. And the absolute best part about this interface? It isn't just a static reference document. Because this is a live, interactive testing environment, you can actually execute these commands right now. You simply click the authorized padlock at the top right of the screen, paste in that secret key we just copied, and you can instantly test sending and retrieving data from your live cloud database directly from this browser window. You can verify that your backend is behaving perfectly before you ever write a single line of front-end code. You have successfully bypassed weeks of tedious backend engineering, complex routing, and security configurations. The engine is running, the documentation is pristine, and you are officially ready to start building your user interface. Now that our API is live and our endpoints are responding beautifully, we need to address the elephant in the room when it comes to backend development: security. Historically, building a truly secure backend is what keeps developers and technical founders awake at night. You usually have to stitch together third-party libraries, worry about token expiration, and pray you didn't leave a vulnerability in your custom middleware. But with NoCodeBackend, enterprise-grade security isn't an afterthought. It is configured automatically right out of the box the moment we check that Enable Native User Auth box earlier. Behind the scenes, the platform natively handles industry-standard JSON Web Tokens, or JWTs. What this means for you is that your API calls are completely stateless. They are highly scalable, incredibly fast, and fundamentally secure against common attack vectors like cross-site request forgery. You don't have to write a single line of cryptographic logic to get bank-level session management. But basic authentication is only half the battle. Knowing who is logged in is easy. Controlling exactly what they are allowed to see and modify authorization is where things usually get complicated. This brings us to the true crown jewel of NoCodeBackend's architecture: automatic row-level security, commonly known as RLS. I want you to look closely at this editor screen. Notice these complex policies that are already populating the dashboard. I didn't write these. The AI generated them specifically for our schema. Features like user scoping ensure that when a user logs into your application, the database strictly limits their access to the hardware level, so they can only ever query, view, or edit their own specific data. There is zero risk of one user accidentally pulling another user's private tasks or project details. Your application isn't just functional. It is locked down, multi-tenant ready, and secure by default. Let's shift our focus back to the developer experience for a moment. One of the most notoriously tedious parts of shipping software is maintaining documentation. If you've ever had to manually write and update YAML files just to keep your front-end team in the loop, you know the pain. Look at what we have here. Without me writing a single line of Markdown, and without me wrestling with open API specifications, NoCodeBackend has generated a complete, comprehensive, and interactive Swagger documentation suite. Every single table, every column requirement, and every relationship is perfectly mapped out and categorized. But it's not just pretty to look at, it's an active testing environment. As we saw earlier, you can test your APIs directly from this screen. If I open up this post endpoint, click Try It Out, and fire off a test payload, the cloud database processes it instantly. And right there, we get our beautiful 201 OK success response. Furthermore, because this interface is inherently tied to the database schema itself, this documentation is always in sync. If you use the AI later to add a new tags table or a new column, this Swagger page updates in real time. Your documentation is never out of date. It never drifts from your actual code base. Period. It is a single source of truth for your entire development pipeline. As we bring this masterclass to a close, let's navigate back to where we started, our MainMy Databases dashboard. Look at the difference. We now have a fully active, globally distributed backend running smoothly in the cloud. Now, a question I get asked all the time is this actually production ready, or is it just for prototyping? I want to be unequivocally clear with you right now. Yes, it is heavily production ready. NoCodeBackend runs on top-tier cloud infrastructure. They maintain a strict 99.9% uptime service level agreement, and the average server response time is less than 100 milliseconds. This backend will easily scale to handle thousands of concurrent users without you ever needing to provision a single server or balance a load. Let's take a moment to recap exactly what we've accomplished in the last half hour. We started with an entirely empty dashboard and a rough idea. We used natural language AI to instantly architect a complex relational database schema. We successfully bypassed weeks of tedious boilerplate coding. We secured our data with automatic JSON web tokens and row-level security, and we explored a fully interactive, auto-syncing documentation suite. The barrier to entry for robust, full-stack development has officially been shattered. Whether you are building from scratch or you want to hook up an AI coding assistant like Cursor to build your front end, you now have the ultimate foundation. Grab your secret key, connect your IDE, and just start prompting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.